Hello everyone, nubkeks here. Welcome back to Nub Raids. We're fresh out of the shower with some big news for you because hopefully unlike the shower, which is something that happens regularly in your life, one assumes, the token trader in Raid Shadow Legends for the longest time has sat untouched, unused, and unloved. In fact, my favorite thing about this token trader is if you look at the portraits closely, you can see that her aspect ratio is actually incorrect. The portraits are too thin and too tall. Sort of how I want to be thinner and taller. Why life? But yeah, that's they're not quite right. Compare them to the ones of the index, your champ collection. The portraits are a bit distorted. It's kind of funny, but it is finally getting an update. And we also, by the way, have got some pretty massive buffs. The two pretty forgotten about champions. We're going to touch on those here as well. So here we go. The token trader update. This is direct from Plarium, by the way. The token trader tab in the Guardian Ring will be expanded to include 2 dynamic champion slots. These will be on a rotation and change every 6 months. So, it's not going to be changing very often, but it will introduce new champions. Now, the price for each dynamic slot will remain unchanged, 3,000 tokens, no matter which champion is on offer. And there we go. I think they said somewhere that there might be about 10 champions in there, but it's sort of irrelevant. Because, if there's 10 champions and it's changing every 6 months, it would take 5 years to get through those. So I don't know if that's actually true. And obviously, this could easily change. So maybe there's no specific champions picked at all. But it's going to be 3,000 points, which is sort of like the middle pricing tier here. You've got a slightly cheaper one from Anaya. Trinix a bit more expensive. These will be coming in for 3,000. There will be no changes to these current slots. So these current slots will still be here. They'll still be these same champions for these same prices. That will not change. This is just an additional 2 slots that will be changing every 6 months for 3,000 coins. What champions will be in there? Well, let's see. The first, and also to note, at once claimed dynamic slot unavailable to the next rotation. So it's like if you buy something in the clan shop, right? It then it becomes unpurchasable. Or let's say the bazaar. I don't know if I bought anything from the clan shop this time. We go to the tag bazaar, right? Like I buy the ancient shard, I can't buy it again until the timer. It's going to be the same thing if I buy a champion from the token trader. I won't, but if you did, it will be gone for 6 months. It will be locked out. Oh, my hair is dripping onto me. That's terrible, terrible stuff. The first 2 champions to be presented in the rotation are Lanakis the Chosen and Nobel. Lanakis. So Lanakis is actually really good. Lanakis is really good. I actually do use her in my Trunda team for Hydra because she brings you increased attack and crit rate, which lets you build champions with 70% crit rate and attack champions do the most damage. Then this is important. She has an ally attack that gives you 30% turn meter boost and increases all ally buffs. So when you combo her with a Yumiko who can reset her cooldowns, you basically put this on at the start of the fight, and then she just spams her ally attack, which is giving your team lots of turn meter. It's extending buffs, which is great. Like you kill the Head of Torment, and people get Perfect Veil. She can extend it. Everyone in the team eventually gets Perfect Veil, and Head of Torment then no longer can disrupt your speed tune and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool, and she just will constantly maintain all of your buffs, which is great. I have her in 9-piece protection. It's very good, so she's certainly well worth getting. Lanakis is a solid champion with an ally attack skill that increases turn meter on top of that, and the ability to apply team-wide buffs. She can be a useful addition to many teams. She can also just be used in general. Ally attack is just generally quite useful. You might even put her in reflex sets. Sometimes you could turn off this move just to spam the ally attack. That can work as well. Lots of cool stuff you can do with her. Even for a lower-end Hydra team, where you're not like destroying heads super fast, because she gives herself continuous heal on her A1 and she's attacking so much, you can build her high resistance and she can be a mischief tank, which is kind of cool. So Lanakis, pretty underrated champion. She's a nice addition to this. I think, yeah, it's a nice addition. Now, this absolutely cracked me up, this bit. Nobel, on the other hand, Nobel, who has, by the way, been buffed, I think, not once, but twice. Twice has he been buffed. What do we have to say about Nobel after the developers have spent time and effort and money, not once, but twice, looking at this champion? I think it's twice. And trying to improve him and rework him and make him a valuable make him a valuable pull. What state is he in? What do we have to say? Nobel, on the other hand, is required to empower Ninja in the Guardian Ring. So having an easier option to procure one should be helpful in making your unique champion stronger. Oh my god, this cracks me up just too much. Poor Nobel, after all of the attention he's been given, is still nothing more than a +1 on your ninja. That's sad. That is so sad. Yeah, I mean, it is probably true, unfortunately. He got nice buffs, but it's still not enough to make him special. He could empower your ninja. Now, here's the thing. I'll be honest, for me, personally, could not care less about the token trader. Don't give a shit. The token trader it's really a whale's world. Like, I'm not free to play. I've been playing this game for 4 years. I have never unbound a champion. They gave us 500 points for free when this came out. This token trader has been completely irrelevant to me. I do think, sort of objectively speaking, the fact that it is like the aspect ratios are wrong and it's never been updated is a bit silly, and it is relevant to, big whales and krakens. For sure it's relevant to them, but it's been so bad it's not really been any use. So hey, look, this is nice. You got the dynamic slot every 6 months. They'll probably still be unhappy about it though, so I don't know. But yeah, I think this is irrelevant to 99% of players. This is irrelevant, and the 2 dynamic slots will also likely be irrelevant. Unless they put in something really busted, like Trunda. Like, if there was a Trunda in there, then maybe, yeah, if you really are, care about Hydra Clash, you could destroy 6 legendaries to get a Trunda. But realistically, for most people, this is, I think, still irrelevant. But people have been complaining about this for ages, so maybe they'll be happy and won't complain anymore. Okay, let's check out the champion rebalances. Okay, so the first champion that is getting changed is none other than Warchief. Yes, Warchief. He has like this weird niche where he has a 2-turn cooldown when booked, 3-turn provoke, which is very good for locking down like Magma Dragon or the Head of Decay in Hydra, but he literally does almost nothing else. Like, he's really quite useless. He does also have this funky passive, which again is quite useless for the actual player, but it's a pain in the butt when you fight him, particularly in Doom Tower, right? Especially if you go in with like a seer team or something with a big nuke, and he just like kills your champion in one hit in Doom Tower, because in Doom Tower they have so much health, you can do so much damage to them, and he can reflect it back and just destroy your damage dealer. Quite funny. Let's see what's being changed with him, though. Big tweak. With the upcoming rebalance changes, we decided to significantly enhance and expand this champion's kit for him to work not only just as a provoker, but as a reliable tank as well. Oh, I meant to underline that and I messed it up. There we go. His A1 will now have a chance to place a provoke debuff with each hit and will heal Warchief and the most injured ally. We'll look at that. Okay, so just breaking this down. Okay, cool. Well, here we go. Let's actually look at the actual changes as more clear. Attacks one enemy 3 times each hit. So before his A1, it was a triple hitter and it had a 35% chance when booked to provoke. This wasn't per hit, it was just in the entire move. It's a bit, there's some stuff in the like this in the game. Funny, to give you another example, Seeker, believe it or not, his move reads the same thing. Attacks one enemy 2 times, has a 25 bucks to 50% chance to place provoke. But this does happen on both hits. Each hit has a 50% chance to provoke for Seeker, but it's very unclear. It's just a problem in the game in terms of tooltips. For poor old Warchief, I'm in the wrong faction. He only had the 1 chance, including all 3 hits. 1 chance. That is now being updated to be each hit. That's actually pretty good. So he's going to have 3 35% chances to provoke. I actually saw this on the test server already, but it's under embargo there. Stay tuned for, at a redacted time, at a redacted date, we will be doing a showcase of the new fusion. Stay tuned for that. But yeah, this stuff is actually on the test server. I had seen this before. I believe I worked it out at about a 72.6. I might be slightly wrong, but that's about right. About a 72% chance to provoke in total. Yeah, with this move. Or, it's roughly about, what, 1 in 4 chance, roughly, that you would miss the provoke. So it's pretty good. It's pretty good. So it's a lot better than it was before, needless to say. A lot better. That's cool. Each hit also heals this champion and the ally with the lowest HP by 3% of this champion's max HP. He has decent base HP. Now, he is a defense-based character, and he does actually have pretty good multipliers. So you might be building him with like some damage and some defense as well. We'll talk about that at the end of reviewing his kit here. This would be just basically a nice little bit of extra healing, would be my thought. It probably not is going to be massive, but it's going to be pretty good. Maybe enough to keep you alive, and certainly combined with some of the rest of the stuff. We'll check it out. Marauder, this is A2. Steals all buffs from the target and places a provoke debuff on them for 3 turns. Also has a 50% chance of placing provoke on all other enemies for 1 turn. Then places a shield buff on all allies for 2 turns, and the value of the shield is proportional to this champion's defense. This is a massive change up to this. Yeah, interesting. A massive change up. So they haven't said it here, but I will tell you that they've also increased the cooldown. So this is going to be a 3-turn cooldown now. It's not a 2-turn, if you were wondering about that. That would have been insanely powerful. And there are also going to be buck chances. It's going to buck up from more than the 50%, but it's not 100%. So basically, you will have, it's still a single target attack. It now steals all buffs. Before, it used to steal 2 random ones. Now it steals everything. On a 3-turn, it will provoke enemies for 3 turns. And I think that's still fine. A 3-turn provoke with a 3-turn cooldown is still absolutely plenty. And then you've got a good chance, to AoE provoke everybody else, which is great for Doom Tower waves and for Cursed City stages, particularly. Then a shield for 2 turns, proportional to his defense, which is cool. So again, you're likely to build him with high defense. His damage does scale off of defense, and he has good book damage, actually, and he's got good damage multipliers. So he does good single target damage, so it certainly might be worth building him with high defense, maybe even some crit rate to get some nice single target damage out for that wave-based content, I would think. But a nice shield, and this shield combos with his passive. Whenever an ally under shield, there's a full rework to the passive. Whenever an ally under shield is hit by an enemy, heals that ally by 25% of the damage dealt to the shield. This passive might sound familiar, because this passive is none other than the Brogni passive. Heals the ally by 25% of the damage inflicted on shields. It's actually a very good passive. It's not like a crazy amount of healing, but it can be more than enough to keep you alive. So he's not only going to be putting out a big shield every 3 turns, but now whenever damage is dealt to that shield, he will heal you by damage that's done to it. He'll be healing you a bit with his A1. So yeah, he's going to be way better at keeping your team alive. Much, much better. Again, to reiterate, this reflection is gone. He used to get 15% increased defense for every dead ally, and that is being changed now as well to increase his defense by 10% for every enemy under provoke, and will also increase his defense by 5% for each enemy not under provoke. So let's say we go into Hydra, 4 enemy heads, he's going to get just 20%. When he provokes that one provocable head, he'll get an extra 5%, go up to 25% more defense. In wave-based content, against 5 enemies, he'll have 25% extra defense. When you provoke those enemies, I mean, he could go up to 50% from 20. He could get an extra 25. So it's actually quite a substantial boost to his defense, which is nice. His base defense is good. He doesn't have much crit damage, but that extra defense will make his shield bigger. The extra defense will make him do more damage. Pretty nice. I'd say you're definitely going to want to bring an increased defense champ in with him. It's going to be pretty good for boosting his damage, his shielding. And yeah, it's going to be nice. Also will boost his healing, but that's cool. And he's getting an aura where he had none before. 60 accuracy in all battles. So Warchief, I think, becomes a hell of a lot better. He's obviously not going to be, high-end arena. Brogni isn't high-end arena either. I think he's still actually fairly a niche character. I think for like mid-game arena, he becomes a monster with this like really big single target lockout, provoke, I should say. Big single target provoke with the full buff steal. Shielding, healing, like mid-game players. This guy is now probably in your tag arena teams, and maybe is useful for siege. Pretty great. He doesn't grow shields like Brogni does, but he'll still be, decent for clan boss. He's still going to give you a lot of healing and do some good damage for Demon Lord clan boss and stuff like that. Good for progressing there. He'll be very good for Doom Tower and for Cursed City. Potential for an AoE provoke. Lots of shielding and protection. He's going to be a beast for any of that wave-based content. Yeah, I think this is a pretty great buff to Warchief. He's not going to become the most OP champion ever, but he's now way better. And he definitely needed it. Like before, he's literally a single target provoker that does nothing else. Now he does a lot more, and that's exactly the update that he needed. That's really, really good. But we've got another buff to come. Let's check it out. Well, last but certainly not least, Gurgoh the Augur from the Augran tribes is getting a buff. Again, one of the older, more forgotten about void legendaries in the game. He is getting a buff. What is Gurgoh all about? Well, as you can see, he has right now removed 2 random buffs from all enemies. He can freeze them, get an extra turn. And then his A3, it's a long 5-turn cooldown, but it does an extra hit if the target has freeze. He just hits really hard. He can freeze enemies. Massive attack aura and faction crypts, weirdly enough. But yeah, he's sort of this weird, I buff strip and I debuff, but then I also do massive single target damage. He got used a little bit briefly, I think, as a Taurus counter, where he could actually just one-shot Taurus, where other champions would really struggle. Because he actually is, I think it's a 6 times multiplier on this, and he can do double hits, so like 12 times multiplier. It's actually a huge single target nuke, but it's awkward to use because you have to freeze enemies to make use of it. Let's see what's happened to him, though. So Gurgoh. Let's just look at the actual skill changes. You guys can check this out as well. Let me go to the aura first. Check it out, guys. Wow. From a actually kind of useful aura, funny enough, but massive attack aura for faction crypts. Not essential, but kind of fun. This has become a much generally more useful one. Ally speed in arena battles by 30%. Yes, it's better than Arman's and Wukong's aura. It's as good as Arbiter. This is an extremely good aura, and that's pretty massive, and clearly showing they want him to be an arena menace. So there you go. His A2, same sort of thing along the lines of Warchief. Instead of being 2 random buffs now, it's going to be all buffs, which I think is just updating him for the modern game. But yeah, he's going to remove all buffs from all enemies. That makes it a lot better, a lot more consistent, really good, especially if you're in a go second team. If you go first, they probably just have Stone Skin, and Stone Skin, we'll talk about it, is still a big problem for him. But if you're in a go second team, they're putting up lots of buffs. That's really strong. Now, his A3 has been radically changed. Attacks all enemies. Places a 60% decreased defense debuff on all enemies for 2 turns, and puts an extra hit if the target is under a freeze debuff and the cooldown has been reduced. So I believe you'll now have a 4-turn cooldown when booked, and a 4-turn cooldown when booked on both of his moves. So it's sort of like a Nekmothar or an Aestrid, depending on the order you do their skills, where he will come in and he'll do A2, extra turn, into his A3, have 2 turns of an A1, and then he'd be back to sort of like the Alpha Strike Wombo combo. But this, because it's a totally different kit, instead of a big single target nuke, I'm assuming the way this will work is he will attack, the first hit will place decreased defense, and then the second hit will benefit from that decreased defense. So that second hit is going to absolutely clap people. It really will. And this is the Wombo combo. Come in, buff strip everyone, freeze everyone, then attack them twice. The first time you place the decreased defense, the second time you absolutely smash them. It's a very powerful Wombo combo. It's cool. His passive also been changed. The old one I haven't mentioned yet. It was a 50% chance to freeze if he lost more than 20% max HP in one attack. And clearly he's a weird one. His base stats kind of suck. You're obviously not going to build him with really much defense at all, because he needs some speed, and he's got terrible base speed. He obviously needs accuracy, and he's got 0, which is rough. And then you probably want to build him for damage as well. His stats are terrible, unfortunately, and that's not changing. The new passive, though, when hit by an enemy, 30% chance to place freeze. And then this other part, increase the damage inflicted by all by allies against enemies under freeze by 25%. Freeze reduces the damage taken by 25%. So increasing it then by 25%, it doesn't quite bring it back up, because let's say you hit them, you'd normally hit them for 100 damage. Now you're hitting them for 75, and then you're going to, you take that 75 and you're going to hit them for 25% more. It's not going to bring you all the way back up to 100, but it's going to be pretty close. So I think that's roughly how I would think about it. The passive is almost going to remove the damage reduction from freeze, which is one of the negative things about freeze, which is pretty good. His passive has a lower chance to trigger, but it's more consistent. I actually think this is probably a pretty big buff overall. It's going to make it worse against damage dealers, who would basically always trigger this, but they would probably just one-shot him anyway. It's going to make it a lot better against supports. So let's say like a Sifi, although she has a passive to remove freeze, but like a Duchess or a Sifi, somebody like that attacks him. Now they don't need to hit him hard at all. So long as they hit him, he's got a chance to freeze them, which I think does make this a heck of a lot stronger, actually. So much better against debuffers and supports and that sort of stuff. So yeah, honestly, a pretty massive improvement. Very big to Gurgoh. Again, I don't think Gurgoh is going to be like absolute top end in all of the top teams in Arena, because you're going up against Mythicals. Like, the top end is pretty crazy stacked right now, but he's going to be pretty good. I do think Stone Skin is still a problem, right? You know, they're still a 50-50. They resist the stone skin. And I think there's a problem with gearing as well, or there's a question about gearing. Do I make him no damage, but super fast with loads of accuracy? Or do I maybe make him slightly faster than my damage dealers and build him like a Sun Wukong maybe, right? Where I actually want him. So let me show you the two different builds. Do I build him like, let's say, a Yumiko, really fast, good chunk of accuracy, maybe even pinpoint gear? Or do I do something like Sun Wukong? Be like, okay, I'll give him a good chunk of accuracy, but like we'll give him medium speed and as much damage as we can. I wonder what way you will go with this new Gurgoh. I would say probably that Sun Wukong hybrid style build where you've got enough accuracy to probably strip off most champions and also to land decreased defense on them. He's going to just destroy people. He'll be a massive damage dealer and give you a really good speed aura. But it's interesting. You've got the potential to use him in speed teams with his aura. You've got the potential to use him in more go second teams. Let enemies outrun their stone skin and then try to strip off their buffs and nuke them. I think it becomes a lot stronger. He's definitely worth considering now. Whereas, like, I got him and he's just been sitting in the vault, I'll be honest, unused. But he's ready to go now. And yeah, he might actually be really good. It's funny. Like, yeah, he becomes, I think, quite a Sun Wukong style champion. Now, again, another big problem is, unlike Sun Wukong, who has a very, very, very good passive for keeping him coming back, he has no defenses whatsoever. He's super squishy. Like, yeah, his new passive will freeze enemies sometimes, but yeah, he's super squishy. Stone skin is a big problem. And also polymorph's a big problem as well. But I think you build him as like a Sun Wukong type character, and he could actually be pretty powerful. I think neither Gurgoh nor Warchief is going to be like redefining top tier accounts. But again, like you imagine a player like 1 year in, you pull a Gurgoh, Gurgoh, he's going to push you through Tag Arena massively so to get your Romantu. He's going to help you out a ton in Siege, though his new aura doesn't work in Siege. Arena auras don't. Yeah, he's way better now. So I think this is a really big improvement. I have Gurgoh. I'll definitely try him out. I don't have Warchief, but I might try him out in the test server. Yeah, I think Warchief for me, if I got him, he would be definitely like Curse City champion, and that's probably it. Gurgoh might see more use than that. I think Gurgoh's a bit more general. It's kind of appropriate. He's a Void Legendary. But yeah, I mean, I guess we'll see when we test them. Like, one thing, of course, I mentioned Gurgoh's A3 right now, the single target, has like a 6 times multiplier. I doubt it's going to still remain a 6 times multiplier. Like, a 6 times multiplier AoE and then an extra hit. That's insane. Now, I really do expect that to be nerfed to probably like a 3 times multiplier, maybe a 4 times. I don't know. But like, bearing in mind, we do have Teox in the game who has, I think, a 4 times multiplier. Then he does an extra hit. He goes 8 times total. And then he can do up to double damage. He can do a 16 times multiplier. So it's hard to know what they'll do with Gurgoh. It is hard to know. Power creep's a thing, but I guess we'll see. I'd expect the multiplier for sure to be lowered, but we'll find out when we actually get to test it. But that is it for the video, guys. Token trader updates. Finally, it's been asked for by some people for a long time. I'm sure I didn't offend anybody on my thoughts on it, saying I don't really care. There's definitely some people that stop watching the video in disgust and unsub from it. How dare you, Nub? How dare you? I'm pretty hyped for Gurgoh. I think that's going to be fun. And yeah, Warchief becomes actually genuinely pretty solid now, and he'd be a fun one to pull. Definitely for Curse City or any content like Curse City in the future, he becomes powerful. Honestly, like Skinwalkers, gosh, in terms of their legendaries, their mythicals are definitely not the top tier ones, but their legendaries are actually very strong. They've got a very, very strong roster of legendaries now. Good old Skinwalkers. Yeah, let me know what you think about it all. Thank you for watching, and I will see you all next time. Goodbye.